This episode of Let's Talk Vocal Health is brought to you by Superior Vocal Health, the most widely used and trusted all-natural vocal healthcare formulas in the music industry. Each product in Superior Vocal Health's line of herbal formulas is specifically designed to address one of the many issues that singers experience. Whether it's clogged sinuses, phlegm in the throat, or an overused and tired voice, Superior Vocal Health has an individualized formula to address each vocal challenge. When it comes to your voice, trust the #1 vocal healthcare company in the music industry, Superior Vocal Health. Use the promo code VOCALHEALTH in the checkout box when ordering to receive 10% off every order.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Vocal Health. It's great to have you here. Our channel, what do? We have in-depth and hopefully really valuable discussions for all of you out there, voice professionals, about vocal health, where I speak with voice professionals of all styles, all types of singers, teachers, coaches, ENTs, and we talk about vocal health, how to take care of your voice. So if that's what you're looking for, you're in the right place. A couple of quick things to get out of the way. First, don't forget, you saw our sponsor. Please visit them, do your best. We are a free channel. The goal is to get content out for all of you on a regular basis. So if you can visit them, be really great. Don't forget to put vocal health in the coupon box. That way you'll get 10% off your orders. How cool is that? Also, please, a little disclaimer. We are not doctors, at least the artists aren't. When I interview ENTs and such, you can go your own way there. But please use your own, in terms of discretion, what you're going to take from here. We are not giving medical advice. Just simply discussing vocal health in hopes that you may be able to learn something new or even perhaps add to your arsenal of vocal health. So today, I say let's jump in, and we have a fabulous guest today, Mr. Jeffrey Stanfill, and I'd like to welcome him. Hello, Jeff. Thanks for being on our program.
Hi, David. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
That's awesome. So, Jeff, why don't you introduce yourself to our viewers? Let us know a little bit about how you got into where you are today, and of course, what you offer in teaching. I've taken lessons with you. It's an incredibly unique and very, very powerful way that you teach and the techniques you offer. So give us a little background before we get into our actual discussion.
Thank you. I grew up in Tennessee. I'm the son of a Southern Baptist minister. So anyone that knows what that means, I'm a PK, which means we're like the worst kids ever. And my mom was a school teacher. I grew up loving music and singing and always wanted to do something with music. I got sidetracked for a little while when I showed equestrian show jumping horses for about 10 years. And then I injured my shoulder really badly. And then someone said, you should really pursue music because you're really good at that. So I went into singing full time. I went to university, and at the university, I'm not going to mention, I went through about 5 different teachers and came out confused and more confused about singing than when I went in. And so I came to New York in the early mid 90s and was desperately looking for a teacher. And I found this teacher, Leona Matthews, in 1999. And she completely changed the way I sing, the way I think about singing. And she changed mostly the way I think about breath. And I had 6 lessons with Leona in 1999 before she passed away. She was very ill when I met her. I didn't know this at the time, but she was very ill, only teaching 1 day a week. And she was quite a character. In fact, this is really, really cool. I just found my tape recorder that I used to tape the lessons. And in these tapes, there's so much amazing information. In those 6 lessons, she changed, like I said, my entire concept of breathing, because I was always what I call a high breather. I breathed up here, and there was always way too much compression. And she taught me how to breathe into my back rib cage and to open my back. And In those 6 lessons, like things started changing really quickly with my voice. I felt more free, more open, and I'd always taught a little bit. If I was in a show, I'd always find a cast member to help out.
Hmm.
Even though I didn't know everything, I hadn't figured my voice out completely, but I had a way of teaching, a way of helping people. So right before my last lesson, she said, "You're going to be a voice teacher. I want you to do this. Take this information into the world." And she passed away, unfortunately. And then a month later, by the grace of God, I met my teacher of the last 21 years, Maestro David Jones. You can find out about David by going to voiceteacher.com. He was very smart, and he secured that domain name in 1999. And so if you type in voice teacher, his is the first link that pops up. So David took me under his wing. I learned the concepts of the Swedish Italian vocal technique. That's something that I showed you, the exercises, and they're just amazing. They really line the voice up in such an easy way that it takes away all the tension in the voice. And I'm a rock singer by nature. Even though most of David's students are classical, he took me because, he saw that this is going to help me as a rock singer. So I started combining the exercises and concepts that I learned from David and from Leona, and of course from my experience of being on stage and trial and error. And then I came up with my own way of teaching the exercises to rock, pop, musical theater singers and gospel singers. And it works great. And I love teaching. I opened my studio shortly after 1999, Soaring Studios. And I've been teaching ever since, and I still perform a lot. I sing with an 80s cover band right now called Fast Forward 80s. And I do all the Journey and all the really high tenor stuff with them and love it. And I'm still performing a lot, right now, of course, not during the pandemic, but we've actually had a few performances during this time. But I just am passionate about teaching. I'm passionate about helping singers navigate this very difficult arena of being a performer. And, things are constantly changing right now in the business, the way artists are found and discovered. I'm learning more about Instagram. I've always had a pretty active YouTube channel that you can find the link to that I know you'll put down there. And, but I love helping singers not only find their voice, but find their confidence to be able to sing.
That's wonderful. Wow, what a story. Let's make sure everybody got that really quick. Your studio is, can you give us the link again for your studio?
It's www.voicesoaring.com.
Voicesoaring.com. And then, of course, your band, Fast Forward 80s.
Band is Fast Forward 80s. You can find them on Instagram.
Awesome. So that is some story, and it kind of leads us perfectly into what we're always talking about. For those who are watching, Jeff and I have known each other for years, and both our passion is to the voice, of course, but to help other people figure out, like he said, this difficult arena, not just professionally, but personally, about your voice and how to keep it healthy and how to sing for years and how to sing beautifully and powerfully and all that great stuff. So Jeff, that's a great segue. Why don't we go into your teaching and such? I have a number of questions I want to ask you as a teacher and a performer, because that's kind of a challenge. How often are you teaching/singing at this point in your career?
Yeah, I'm teaching sometimes 5, 6, 7 hours a day.
Wow.
Even during the pandemic, it was amazing. I was like every vocal coach on the planet. As soon as the pandemic happened, I was really worried that my business was just going to fall apart. But I found that even the first week of the lockdown, people started calling for lessons that I hadn't heard from in ages. So they were really ready to, get on this and stay active with their voice. And yes, I'm teaching all completely online, of course, no in-person lessons. And I found that the online lessons were great. I'd always taught online to my European students and South American students, but now everyone is online. And I feel like it works great.
So you're teaching 5 to 7 hours a day, and you are also singing, but obviously before the pandemic, let's kind of go back to that because that's what I'd like people to get an idea of. So you were singing and teaching all these hours. So did you find, and I probably know the answer to this question already, but that your voice was taking a beating? I mean, how did you maintain a superior vocal health within all of that on your voice? Because teaching is way different than singing, and speaking is even harder than singing. So how did you find that you could balance that out to make sure when you performed you were still in the pocket?
Well, I think I'm a little fortunate in that I have my dad's good, strong Southern Baptist preacher vocal cords.
Okay.
So that, I mean, that's partly genetic, and my mom has a really strong voice too. So I think genetically, I'm given good, strong, vocal cords that can withstand a lot of pressure. But I do have to make sure that I stay away from acidic foods. I, like many singers, suffer from acid reflux. So I have to make sure that I'm not eating foods that are going to cause reflux, especially at night. So if I know if I have a long teaching day, I'll try to eat earlier in the night and not snack late at night.
That's
Um,
a great input there too. I'm gonna actually chop your thought right there because I'm gonna save that for a little later. We're gonna
okay.
definitely get in because I know you have some tricks and trades and foods and
Okay.
this and that.
Yeah.
I want to just jump back when you are getting ready for performance and you have found that you've been teaching all day, let's say five,
Yeah.
7 hours, and you have to go sing Journey. You have to sing
Yeah.
all this incredibly high stuff.
Yeah.
So how do you, what do you do to set yourself to get your voice back in when you're, and really this is the core phrase, when you have that kind of overused, tired voice, how do you get it in so that then you don't push through the set or sets and then
Yeah.
ruin your voice again? What do you have special techniques or things that you can
Yes.
for people to
Yes, for
give them
sure.
insight?
I think one of the challenges of teaching online is that we all tend to speak too loudly.
Hmm.
And so that can cause your larynx to rise,
Right.
unnaturally. I found that with me. I've tried to like reduce my volume when I'm teaching, because I know we feel like we have to talk like this because, even though you can hear me just fine when I'm talking at a normal level, but we have that thing with the online lessons where we want to sort of push through. And even at the studio in New York, it's loud because there's lots of people outside the doors auditioning. And the pianos are very loud. So I feel like I'm always having to sort of push my voice. But I found that several things, if I maintain a really good posture when I'm teaching, that is, first of all, key. Because if the posture is good, then the rib cage is not going to lock,
Sure, I'm
right?
right with you.
Yeah. And I'll sort of do this a lot with my students throughout the day where I'm rocking my rib cage
Huh.
because that releases the pressure underneath the diaphragm. And my teacher told me something a long time ago, David Jones. He said, use your students to become a better singer.
Hmm.
So I literally, when I'm vocalizing, modeling the exercises, I'm sort of exercising my voice anyway, and I'm trying to do it all the right way. So I found that if I model correctly, don't try to demonstrate any bad things. I'll show them a couple of bad ways to do it, but I know I'll always pay a price for that. So I try to do that less as possible, and not over model during the day. Not
That
over
keeps
model.
you at least in line vocally so that you're not just talking all day and pushing down into the bottom, and then at least you're vocalizing kind of when you're teaching. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So that gives you an idea. What if
Yeah.
somebody isn't a teacher and they're working all day? Say a lot of us singers, temp jobs, on the phone, what have you, or sales, and then they got to go do gigs and they're beat up from the day.
Yeah.
What can you give that you might suggest for some things like that?
Yeah, I like a lot of semi-occluded vocal tract exercises, like singing through a straw.
Okay.
That's a great way to get your vocal cords slacked out. My very first YouTube video, first YouTube tutorial, has to do with singing through the straw. So if you go to my YouTube channel, Jeff Alani Stanfill, you'll see my first episode was all about singing through the straw. At the
Wow.
time, I use 2 sipping straws. We've sort of graduated to singing into, water bottle and
Mhm.
things like that. And I know our mutual buddy Jamie Vendera probably gave you the straw device, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah. Well,
So that's
I'll mention that a little later for
yeah,
everybody.
yeah. So the straw is great because that actually helps to in, lengthen out the vocal cords and reduces swelling.
Ah, okay. So it allows you
Right.
to at least not be so thick, perhaps,
Yes.
since
Yeah.
because when we're talking and beating up the voice, it gets swollen and a little thick. So straw technique is great. Do you have any type of particular remedies or things that you use? A hot tea, a this, a that. If you're really getting in trouble for a
Sure.
performance
Yes.
that you
I
need to do.
I I steam. I'll use a steamer,
Okay.
a facial steamer. Um, I love the yogi teas for the throat, like the
Right.
throat comfort. That's great. I mean, there are
Ginger,
people.
right?
Yes, there are people that say that those don't actually work, but even if it doesn't, it's kind of like a prophylactic. It makes you feel like it does.
And even the
So
warmness, does help the
yeah,
vocal tract. So even if you just do a
yeah,
warm water with honey, I would imagine you don't have any tea. Say you're at a
absolutely,
bar, you can get that at a bar. I think
absolutely.
that's for sure.
Yeah,
That's
well, the throat comfort has some of the properties that you guys use in your products. It has the licorice root, which is good for inflammation.
right.
I use that a lot. Since I've been on, the last time you saw me, I was 35 pounds heavier.
Oh, you look
Since
great, really great.
since I've been on this fitness journey, I have increased my water intake to up to 6 liters a day.
Wow.
And that has made a huge difference in my voice. I've always been one to preach drink water to my students. Drink water, drink water.
Wow.
But I will admit that I wasn't always the one that did the water drinking.
Hmm.
But now that I'm drinking like up to 6 liters a day, I'm finding that my voice is behaving so much better. It feels lubricated. So that can actually help, if you're not drinking water throughout your day at your day job, you're going to go to the studio and teach and you're going to be already dehydrated.
Yeah.
I remember I did the Boston to New York AIDS ride many years ago, and they told us on the ride that the minute your throat feels dry, you're already dehydrated.
Wow. That's great to know for singers, especially.
Yeah, so the minute you have that dryness, you're
Hmm.
already past the point of dehydration, and so you need to get that water going. So I tell my students that are bartending or waiting tables in the city, keep a water bottle and chug throughout the day, sip throughout the day, so you keep hydrated. So that if you have an audition afterwards, or you have to teach,
Yeah.
then you're hydrated already. I think the hydration is
Wow.
key.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's also another segue to go to diet and such. I know that, like, for all those you don't know, Jeff's 35 pounds less. You see the workout stuff, the ball in the background. He's got a great video on workout stuff. I don't remember it exactly, but it's great for
And
singers.
I was 30 pounds heavier in that video,
Wow.
by the way.
Amazing. So check that video out, everybody, too, on his channel. Some great stuff to open you up for singing and specifically for that. So what do you mentioned before, acid reflux and such. Let's kind of take that apart. First of all, do you have a specific diet that you yourself choose and that you not necessarily recommend, but that you would say is best for what you've known over the years for singers in terms of the voice of your health, maintaining superior vocal health?
For sure. I eat a lot of salads with lean grilled chicken. I try to stay away from things that are fried. I try
Okay.
to stay away from, as much as I love pasta
Hmm.
and pasta sauce, red sauce. I can't do it anymore because it really creates a lot of reflux. I love Spanish food, but there's a lot of spices in there, and certain Spanish foods that have
Mhm.
spices that can create reflux. So I have to really watch what I eat, and that's everyone is individual. I mean, I'm sure these people that can eat ice cream before they sing, and they're
Yeah,
fine.
it's amazing.
But I really just, I found that it's all about what triggers the reflux for you. If I eat a lot of bread or a lot of dairy, which I don't anymore, then I'll feel that sort of like that little hot feeling under my cords.
Hmm.
So I just try to stay away from foods that trigger the reflux. But like I said, everyone is individual. Some people can eat this or that and they're fine and they don't get reflux.
So
But
with that reflux, if you basically control it through diet and
Mhm.
being really diligent and careful.
Yeah,
Obviously, especially I should say, not eating before you go to sleep. I mean, that's
right.
the most brutal thing for reflux. It just everything comes up and sits in your cords, and you wake up
Yes.
like, oh my gosh, where's my voice? But you've never gone to the pill side to take the little, what is it, the little purple
Yes.
pill?
Well, yes.
Okay.
I will take the little purple pill when necessary, especially, if I've gone to dinner with friends or gone to, late at night, then I know that I have to take the little purple pill
Hmm.
before I go to bed, or I'll take liquid Gaviscon. I know
Okay.
that's I like the Gaviscon because it is liquid. It has very few side effects. It just keeps the acid from coming up.
Hmm.
Like I said, I'm not recommending those products to anyone. That's just what works for me.
Okay.
Yes, I will take a pill if necessary.
If necessary. I remember researching a lot about the medications and antihistamines and the purple pills and this and that. The challenge with those is they do affect your vocal tract at some point or another. If you're taking them regularly, you'll get
Yeah.
swelling, they'll dry you out. So it is a challenge, but I know everybody has different things. We're all different in terms of body, that's for sure.
Mm.
So
Well,
vocally, do you still well, it sounds like you do, but I'd like to hear, and maybe everybody else wants to know, maintain a vocal regimen that keeps you in line vocally. I know we don't have
absolutely.
time for the whole thing, but just to
Absolutely.
let younger singers or people getting into singing know what a real pro like yourself
Yeah.
still does.
Yes. I've always been someone that needed to vocalize before I sing a song. I have to
Okay.
warm up. I'm not one of those people that can just jump out of bed and start singing a song. I have to warm up really slowly,
Hmm.
especially being a tenor. I think the tenor voice is it just seems to be the type of voice that needs a bigger warm up. And so I will start with the tongue lip trill, which is my favorite. I love that because that feels like a massage on the throat, on the vocal cords. So I'll start off with the tongue lip trill, then I'll go to lip trills, then I'll pull my straw out if I have to try to get the cords leaned out, and then I'll go to exercises which thin the cords out. Um, as I've gotten older, my cords have gotten thicker, so I have to make sure they're nice and lean. So I'll do exercises on staccati to make sure that the cords are just touching on the thin edges.
Right.
Try to get that thin edge going, and then I'll do exercises which go through the whole range on the closed vowels first, like the E and the oo.
Hmm.
Um, I found that, I'm sure you found that with male singers, the oo vowel tends to be the most difficult vowel
Yeah.
to get. I don't know if that's your experience, but if women love the oo vowel, it just goes right up there for them. But men tend to want to go ooh, so
Hmm.
once you can get the oo vowel really released, then it sort of opens up the whole pathway.
Excellent.
And then I'll do exercises for agility and then exercises for chest and head connection and then mixing exercises. I do those every single day.
Wow. So that's great to know because I think many people who aren't necessarily professionally um, well versed yet or such might think they hear a great singer like you and other singers think, oh, he doesn't have to do anything. He just knows what he's doing now and it just works. But we will attest to the fact that that's just absolutely balderdash. There's no way you can do
Yes.
it. You have to maintain your voice just like an athlete. There's no way a professional athlete would not stretch, would not work out, and all that great stuff. Oh,
Exactly.
that's
Can I give
awesome.
you a little side note? This is funny because I was just thinking about this. And this has to do with products. I don't know if you had to segue for this, but
Mhm.
um, when I was doing a show a couple of years ago, this lady, we had a bandstand in front of all the singers because I was with another band at the time, and the name of the band was in front of the bandstand. So this lady comes up after I'd sang a Journey song, and she comes up and she looks behind the bandstand and she sees all the products I have back there, in my tea, my Superior Vocal Health Throat Saver, which I love.
Okay. And P.S. Let me just stop you right there, guys. We're not pitching here at all.
No.
I didn't ask Jeff to do that. It just happens to be what he uses. So
no, this is I will tell you the story about how I found this product too, because it's been one of my saving graces. But I have, all these things back behind the bandstand. And she said, "Is that what it takes to be able to sing all those high notes?" I said, "No, it actually takes a really good vocal coach and daily vocal workouts."
Great answer. Great answer. Well, I would, love to go farther and farther and farther, but I know that everybody is always looking for what's going to help them, and hopefully immediately and such. So I want to go into now your arsenal, what you just talked about.
Yes.
What do you have as an arsenal? I know every singer has their arsenal. Mine's changed over the years. What is your arsenal when you're on a regular gig, and perhaps when you're using it in between gigs? Fire away. Give us everything so people can really know.
So I love the Throat Saver, and this is not an endorsement. I know you're not asking me to endorse this, but years ago, I was teaching this tenor, really funny guy, and big personality, and he comes barreling into the studio. And he says, "Jeff, I have found the best throat spray for singers on the planet." Wow. And he says, "You must try it." And I was like, okay, I'll try it. So he gave it to me, and I squirted it back in my throat. And I was like, wow. And I couldn't believe it, what it did for my throat. It just opened everything up. It opened up my sinuses. And and I was a little dry that day. And I remember that my throat felt lubricated again because it stimulates the salivary glands. And so I immediately purchased like 3 or 4 bottles of it from you guys. And then I eventually met you, and then I fell in love with all the products. I mentioned in one of my YouTube videos that on occasion I suffer from stage fright, something that's always been with me. Unfortunately, it's gotten better, but there's times when it sort of sneaks up on me, and I think, wow, why do I still have this? And so I use the stage fright, the pills. I'll use that like an hour before a show if I feel like I'm really going to be nervous, or I have that little thing that comes up. Oh. I love the sinus cleanse because my sinuses are always messed up.
Always. And those are all natural, just so everybody knows. It's an herbal blend. You can take a look on the website. Mm-hmm. Jeff, I know you have also some kind of apparatus things that you use, that you've shown me in the past. We'll go back to the straw, but the Jamie Vendera, he endorses that company. What is that one? Tell us maybe you have it so we can take.
Oh yeah, I have this guy right.
I know you live by that thing. You just love it.
Love it. I call it the Straw 2.0.
But what is it called actually, so everybody can know? What's the product called?
Well, I don't really know. Unfortunately, I would have to find the link to it. But okay. Our fellow friend, mutual friend, Jamie Vendera, very generous guy, amazing vocal coach for.
Yes, the only guy to break glass on the planet with his voice.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
You know him already.
Yeah, he sent this to me because he knew I use the straw a lot. And what I love about it is that it is like the straw. You can put a straw in a bottle and get the same effect. However, this creates a more even flow because the air, the air comes out of this little pipe, and then as you sing through it, this is one of my best friends. Amazing. And depending on how much water you have in it, that gives you more back pressure. So that air pressure that it's creating in the back of your throat is actually expanding the pharynx. And that expansion allows the vocal cords to come together. I
Outstanding.
remember David, years ago, my teacher David, he said to me, he said, you know, when the throat is open, the vocal cords can come together easier. And this is when I was just sort of learning the technique. And I thought, wow, all this time I've been trying to squeeze my throat together to hold the cords together.
Wow.
And I know that a lot of singers do that. When I see them, when they first start taking lessons, I'll notice that they start to squeeze, especially in the passaggio. So when the throat's open, you know, those babies can come together easier. So this really helps with that, especially if you've been
That's awesome. Wow.
tired or sick, or, you know, your throat's messed up from coughing, or you have
Wow.
allergies.
That's great. We could probably go on and on and on forever, as we do sometimes when we're talking to ourselves. So one last thing before we wrap it up. Any magic bullet, anything like that you have found, like, you know, the secret one that you would give everybody, or have we gotten everybody everything that you pretty much do?
Yeah, I don't think there's a secret bullet for becoming a great singer. I
Good
think
answer.
the most important thing is to have a good coach, someone that can really, you know, listen to your voice. I think a lot of singers, when they first start looking for coaches, there's two types of singers I found. They'll come and they'll stay with you for a long, long time, maybe for a lifetime, because they found something that really works for them. And then there's singers that sort of what we call coach hop. You know, they'll jump from one coach to another, to another, to another, and that might be a path for them that works. I've found that a lot of singers that do that don't really solidify their technique, because they're always sort of dancing around what the coach is teaching them. You know, I'm sure you found that, and you know, they won't be consistent, but consistency is key, because once I work with someone for a long time, I get to know, you know, how the voice works.
Yeah.
I get to know more of their emotional state, more of their personality. There's certain personality types that can create challenges for their voice. So I will teach them ways to sort of calm themselves down. And, you know, that really is everything right there, to try to come into singing with a clear head and a joy for singing and a joy for learning. That's the most important thing, that you want to learn and that you apply the exercises and concepts on a consistent basis.
Beautiful. Wow. I couldn't have asked for a better ending to our interview, Jeff. So listen, I can't thank you enough for your experience, your information, everything you've given us. And remember, everybody, this is a collective enterprise. We're just trying to help the singing community with everything we have, because we're always learning and always growing. So keep checking back in. And I forgot in the beginning, but I'll let you know now. I'll tell you now. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, so we can keep this channel going and have everybody learning and growing across the planet on taking care of their voice and maintaining superior vocal health and keeping themselves great singers. Thanks again, Jeff. I wish you all the best, and we'll talk soon again.
Thank you. Thank you, David. I appreciate it so much.